what I was gonna say earlier, and this goes the fundamental principles. Um, we are the first people on the planet. There's no doubt about that. We are the first people to circumnavigate the planet. We are the first people to start nations, and I'm talking millennia before white people ever came into existence. We were in nations, and we were interacting with each other as nations. This is where these international principles develop from. This is where these international laws and customs and traditions develop from. We started this, and a lot of people that I've run into, I hear them say, "Oh, we don't have to go by international law, none of this and none of that, and this and that. It's European." No, it's not European. And I seen a comment where someone said the United Nations is de facto. The United Nations is something similar to the Organization of American States. It is a
No, it didn't read that. I mean, it didn't read that. It didn't read. It didn't read United Nations. It didn't read. It said according to. It said. Let's go back to it though. That's because it would provide. All right. It didn't read alone. It didn't read United Nations de facto. It said according to.
Right. Okay.
Active 1906 Active Algiers, Article 6. I just want to provide the substantive.
Article 60. It was Article 60.
Article 60. Right. Thank you, Queen. Article 60. It didn't read United Nations de facto. Period.
Right. Okay.
All right. I just wanted to. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
This is what they're saying.
There. I've run into a lot of people.
He put it back up. He put it back up. Since you said it, he put it back up for clarity for everybody. Thank you, Mandela.
Right. And I've had a lot of people just say that in general, not dealing with this guy, but the United Nations doesn't mean anything and this and that. Well, the United Nations is going according to those international traditions and customs between nations. The United Nations isn't a government per se. All of the nations who are a part of the United Nations agreed to be in it. They agreed to follow the rules of the United Nations. And if you go to the Charter of the United Nations, the main goal is to keep peace and communication between nations. That's what the laws of nations. That's what international law concepts and standards came into existence, because nations had to deal with other nations. This is how nations are recognized by other nations. Like if for example, the Israel-Palestine situation. Palestine, probably a few months ago, was just recognized as a nation with the United Nations. It was just recognized as a nation with the United Nations, but you have the UN Security Council. They hold the veto power, basically. And the Security Council is basically composed of all the nations who have nukes, basically. So when this Israel-Palestine situation jumped off, I guess they had been applying for nationhood, but had been being blocked by the United States, who is pretty much the government is filled up with Jews and all of that. But they blocked Palestine from being a nation, which somewhat blocked them from some humanitarian and some authority or autonomy. Not saying they didn't have their own autonomy, but the situation changes when you become recognized as a nation state, because now you're on the somewhat of the international stage, and the only one to veto that recognition was the United States. They were the only ones to veto that recognition. But everybody else is like, yes, we recognize you as a nation state. Now they come under the protections of the UN and all of these other nations. So basically, when their allies now try to help them, they would be, I guess, somewhat justified in that. But this is a perfect example of what we're trying to do with the Moorish Republic. We're trying to get out and organize everyone in such a manner that we have, it doesn't have to be a large government, but we have a structure to where once we get out from under the United States and get into the Human Rights Commission, that's all we need. That's the first step, is to just get recognition. Recognition brings other things. That brings assistance. And that recognition is only going to come by adhering to those international principles of nation states and the recognition thereof. Islam, I yield.
Okay.